We are live for for my Hall of Fame class for 2017. Now, this is just me talking about the Hall of Fame because it was, in my opinion, it's hard every year to come up with a list, and there's my list there. Yeah, my handwriting's no, they're terrible. Well, yeah, there it is. My list of wrestlers. I've written that I have wrote these down because if I have to, because I cannot remember the top of my head of these because I had to really research. I had to really go on Wikipedia and really go onto accomplishments to think about what wrestlers I think should go into the Hall of Fame. So, so this is my list. So, please guys leave your list down in the comment section below, guys, and let's get started. So number one, obvious pick is gonna be Kurt Angle. He's the headliner. He's the guy that obviously is the main reason why people are going to be watching it because of Kurt Angle's return to WWE. So also Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle is one of those guys in the wrestling business that could have a match with anybody. He can, get a good match out of anybody. He can have a good match out of somebody like an AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or Shawn Michaels or whoever it was. He would still have a good match out of whoever it was. So for that reason alone, not Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle is, a well-deserved all-around Hall of Famer, in my opinion. And I'm just going to share this out real quick, guys, to the millions before we start with the others. So hold on a minute and. So we are back. I just put it full screen right now. There you go. We're back. So anyway, like I said, Kurt Angle is obviously the headliner, and also I give my reason why he's the headliner. And then we have Ravishing Rick Rude. Now, Ravishing Rick Rude back in the day was one of the most underrated guys in the WWF. Like, he was teamed up with Ric Flair, and he had some great IC title feuds with like Ultimate Warrior. And then I thought in the WWF, when he first was in the WWF, I thought that maybe Vince was going to push him, but at the time it was kind of hard to get a push around the Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man, and Andre was still there, and you had Mr. Perfect coming through, and Bret Hart was, rising up the card, and Yokozuna was a big star at the time, and it was hard for Ravishing Rick Rude to get a main event spot. And I think Flair was still there, and then it was hard for somebody like Ravishing Rick Rude to get, a main event push for a title, and I wish he would have got that main event push, but I wish he did get that WWF title, but he went to WCW the first time round, and he got that world title from Sting. He had a great feud with Sting. He feuded with Flair a couple of times in WCW. And then he left again WCW to go back to the WWF to form DX with Shawn Michaels and Triple H in China. I really like that there. He wasn't there long, Rick Rude, but yeah, I wish he would have stayed in the WWF a bit longer. But he left because he didn't like the Montreal, what went down in Montreal with the whole screw job. So he went to WCW again and aligned with the NWO, and then he was there for like I think 2 years in the NWO. And then he unfortunately passed away in 1999 because of a heart attack, which is I didn't this was a time where I was only watching wrestling. I was only a young kid at the time, so I didn't see much of Ravishing Rick Rude. So I've only been watching stuff on YouTube of Rick Rude, but I'm a fan of Rick Rude. And here's a guy that a lot of guys wanted to be. Like the women wanted to be with the guy, and the guys wanted to be with the guys wanted to be Rick Rude. Sorry. So and it's one of those characters that, in my opinion, was a character like a Val Venis, but got over. Like Rick Rude was doing the Val Venis character before Val Venis did that character and got that over. And in my opinion, if you want to look at the best if you don't look at the really best heels in the business, then you don't look any further than Russian Rick Rude. The guy just knew how to just act like a heel, how to present himself in the ring as a heel, and how to get over as a heel. Like the guy had the whole package, and I really like that about Russian Rick Rude, and that's why he should really be in the Hall of Fame. And I hope that the rumors are true on the internet that Russian Rick Rude does make the Hall of Fame class. Now, I was going to put Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame and the British Bulldog because of the whole because the thing with Owen's wife Martha. I don't think that we're gonna have Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame for quite a while yet. I think we're gonna have to wait a couple more years yet. And um, I know that we keep crying out for Owen Hart to be in the Hall of Fame, and I want Owen Hart to be in the Hall of Fame, but it's one of those situations, man. Like, Martha doesn't want him in there, so they're gonna have to go through a lot of red tape to just get him through there because her idea before, like after he passed away, was she doesn't want nothing to do with wrestling anymore because what happened to Owen. But Owen was a kind of an accident. She's got to accept that. And when I thought of releasing a DVD of him, and apparently she had a lot of input in that, so she couldn't really. They couldn't really talk about a lot of Owen's stuff from his earlier days in the wrestling business. So there has a kind of tie with Owen Hart situation, but I would really love to put him in this list. But just the whole thing that I don't think it would happen because of what Martha doesn't want it. So it is what it is. It's kind of sad, but yeah. So at number 3, I have two tag teams. So I'm going to tell you the first tag team. The first tag team are the Dudley Boys. Here are two guys that, in my opinion, were the faces of ECW back in the Attitude Era. The guys that tore up ECW. Then they went to the WWF. They won multi-time tag team titles with they had multi feuds with like the Hardys and Christian. And my favorite WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 17, aside from like Rock and Austin, was the TLC match between the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Christian and Edge. Edge and Christian. That was probably the best TLC match I've ever seen. Like, I know a lot of people will say the SummerSlam match they had in 2000, but I like this one better. Like, that one was a lot better, and I really liked spots in the match. So yeah, and even in TNA, they had a couple of accomplishments. They went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they won a tag title there. So they've done a lot of good stuff in the wrestling business. Like, they're like 23-time world tag team champions, and they really deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And Bully Ray's still going strong as a singles wrestler, and and my number 4, at number 4, I have somebody outside of WWE. So over the years, we've had some other wrestlers and some celebrities outside of WWE get inducted, like a Donald Trump, and we've had, Drew Carey, and we've had, Carlos Colon from the Colon family, which is very good. And I was going to think about Mil Mascaras in this, but I'm going to say the one guy that I want to really see in the Hall of Fame this year. Now, I was going to go with Tiger Mask, the first ever Tiger Mask guy, but I don't know if he's on good terms. I don't know if he's on good terms with WWE or not. So I went with the Great Muta. So Great Muta, in my opinion, the one guy to never step foot in a WWF/WWE ring. Now you think about all the wrestlers that have been in the WWF/WWE. So you've had your Hogans, you've had your Macho Mans, you've had your Flairs, you've had your Cenas, your Edges, whatever you've had all those great wrestlers. But you think about one Asian wrestler that's never been in the WWF or WWE who has really captivated a lot of Asian wrestlers to go to America, to go to the UK, to get exposure outside of Japan because of how good of an impact Great Muta had on those guys like a Shinsuke Nakamura. Probably looked up to Great Muta and somebody like a Hideo Itami and a Tajiri and stuff like that. Looked up to somebody like a Great Muta because Great Muta, in a lot of ways, pioneered Japanese wrestling as what it is today. Like, who would have like people like Kenny Omega going over there and guys like Adam Cole and all these other guys going over to New Japan because it's guys like Great Muta who have inspired these guys to go over there because they like the strong style of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So yeah, and Great Muta, he really deserves it. Like he's at a Hall of Fame career, man. Outside of WWE, well, he's not even been in WWE, but his WCW days, he's Japan days, obviously. So he deserves to go in there. And my fifth pick is DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. Now, in my opinion, the guy didn't. I'm not going to say because of his wrestling career. He had a good wrestling career because he actually entered wrestling later than a lot of other wrestlers did. Like he was 34. So yeah, and he had a decent run. Like he was multi-time world champion in WCW, and then he came to the WWF as a mid card, and they never really used him properly. Then went to TNA. Forget about that. That was bad. But I want to talk about his retirement. So basically, um, we all know that Scott Hall and Jake the Snake had the demons after pro wrestling, and what did DDP do? Being an awesome friend that he did, now he is. He said that what I've started DDP yoga. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have you guys get clean my way. So what I want you to do is eat healthy. I'm watching today. Eat healthy and basically fucking train. So that's what he wanted to do and stay off the drugs. So he did that and he got them both into the Hall of Fame the same year, 2014, which was awesome. And in my opinion, the guy needs a clap. So I'm going to tip my imaginary hat off to DDP right there because he needs all the credit he does for changing the lives of Scott Hall and and Jada Snake. And I think he's been saving Stevie Richards lately or somebody like that. Because I think he's had his addictions and stuff. So props to him. Like he's saving 3 wrestlers out there. He needs his props. So yeah, DDP next. For my Celebrity Hall of Fame list now, there is nobody more fitting, nobody more when it comes to WrestleMania. When you think about WrestleMania celebrities in the past, you think of your Mr. T, you think about, your what's his name? You had your 50, not 50 Cent, what's his name? Oh damn. Oh my God, Snoop Dogg. That's the difference. You think of guys like that who have been, kind of big names in, WrestleMania. But there's only one celebrity that is big at WrestleMania that has never been into the WWE Hall of Fame, and that was the guy that was part of WrestleMania. Was he part of 1 or was he part of 3? WrestleMania 1, and um, that was Muhammad Ali. That is right. It stings like a bee and whatever like that. The guy was a living legend in the boxing world, and he was larger than life. He was a larger than life character. And I don't think he's ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like here's a guy that unfortunately did pass away last year, but because he passed away last year, but we want to think about Muhammad Ali's great career, and also we can celebrate what he did for the wrestling business, really, in pioneering WrestleMania, in making those buy rates good at WrestleMania 1, and he made appearances there. And actually getting Muhammad Ali back in the 80s was a hot project. I mean, I bet some of the I bet some of like the AWA or something like the NWA wish they got something like Muhammad Ali to one of their shows to get their wrestling business pioneer. But the WWF at the time just said, you know what? It's a special occasion. We got to treat it like a special occasion, so we're going to get Muhammad Ali. So yeah, Muhammad Ali is in my celebrity wing for the Hall of Fame this year. And my second tag team, so I said the Dudleys earlier. Now I'm surprised that these two guys are not in the Hall of Fame already. Now I was going to go with Demolition, but they have the lawsuit, so I'm not going to say Demolition. I was going to say Hardys, Edge and Christian. But there's only one tag team that has had more accomplishments and is actually who is a Hall of Fame class worthy. They've been in the NWA Hall of Fame in 2006. And you guys are right. I am saying they're Rock and Roll Express. Now, these guys have won multi-tag team titles wherever they've been, WCW and NWA. They've been in WWF. They've been in TNA recently. Wherever they've been, they've always had an impact in the wrestling business. And these two guys have really needed to be in the Hall of Fame for such a long time right now. Like, I was thinking about tag teams the other day, what I would put in this video for tag teams. And I was thinking Dudley's, yes, but who else has accomplished more as tag team wrestlers than the Dudleys. Now I will say Ascension, but I like this Ascension. They're jobbers. Demolition, sorry, but the lawsuit. So I said, you know what? You know who's not in the Hall of Fame for the WWE and should be in the Hall of Fame for the WWE? The Rock and Roll Express, because here's two guys that really did pioneer the 80s in those territories like your NWAs and your AWAs and your Jim Crockett's promotions or whatever like that. So yeah, and your Rocky Stone Mounties and stuff like that. Yeah, all those are old promotions. And the women, who's gonna get inducted for the women? So basically, my last person getting inducted into the Hall of Fame for the women. So I narrowed it down to 3 women. And it was hard. It was very hard. I had to go on Wikipedia to think about all of the Attitude Era women wrestlers. In case I forgot any women wrestler. Now, I was going to say China, but Triple H doesn't want her in there. And, you know, she's had her issues with drugs and stuff, so I don't know if they're going to put China in there. So I did say China. At one point, my head was saying China. That she was going to say, yes, she's going in. But now I'm saying maybe a Sable, because Sable had a really good career in the WWF. Like, you got to think about it. You know, she was with Mark Marrow, and then that didn't work out. And then she, you know, she was the more over in the tag team of Mark Marrow and Sable. Like, she was the most memorable person anyway. Like, if you talk about, so okay, so if you talk to a person, an old wrestling fan that was watching wrestling in the new generation era, the Attitude Era, the one person they're going to talk about, the one women wrestler they're going to talk about is they'll tell you about Lita and China and Trish, and they'll talk about Ivory or somebody like that, or Tori Wilson or something like that. But the one wrestler they'll always talk about, the one women wrestler anybody will talk about is Sable. Now, Sable was one of those women that got over, not because of her you know, of what she did but because, you know, she was a good character, and you know, she did a lot in the business, and you know, obviously because she's married to Brock Lesnar and stuff like that. But yeah, well, Sable. And my next, I was gonna go for Deborah, but you know, Deborah, she had a good run in the wrestling business as well. She managed Ric Flair. You know, she managed Jeff Jarrett, the guy who never drew a dime. She managed the great Owen Hart, Steve Austin. Stuff, and then she had a women's title run, which was actually pretty decent at the time. So I would say Deborah or Molly Holly. Molly Holly had a good run there, but I would have to say Sable. So the woman wrestler that I am inducting into the WWE Hall of Fame for 2017, my dream Hall of Fame card for 2017 is going to be Sable. I'm sorry, Deborah, and I'm sorry, Molly Holly, but Sable was the more recognized women's wrestler over kind of you two women, because I know a lot of people will say Deborah was the kind of recognized because she was with Steve Austin, but you know, Sable, you know, nobody can compete with Sable, right? So that is it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for stopping by. Leave your thoughts on the Hall of Fame class 2017, guys. That was just my Hall of Fame class. This is just for fun. I don't know if this is going to happen or not, so I will check you guys later.